what is the line that you'll still come back to it? You'll never forget that line from anything that you've played.
It's probably Romeo and Juliet.
All right, what's the line?
I probably do it all the time. A scratch! It's a tough business, and so sometimes, you think you're going to get a job and you don't. You're like, a scratch! You think you hurt me? Nothing! So I've said it so many times. It's like, it's a scratch!
Let's talk a little bit about From, because it's a show that I feel has had this slow build over the past, now going in, this is the third season. And when you were thinking about joining it, I'm sure, it's its own thing, but you had to think about the last twisty turny, you got to tune in every episode show that you were a part of, because it has the vibes of The Lost,
It really does. It when I read it, it certainly had that vibe, and because it had that vibe, and I knew that Jack Bender and Jeff Pinkner were going to be running the show, I was really confident that they really know how to handle that. You know what I mean? That they know how to really build the characters so that the audience is watching because they're invested in the human beings. Even though the questions are really big, like, what's the smoke monster? Why is there a polar bear? But when something went wrong with Jack, or when Michael wasn't paying attention to the kids, that's what really captured the audience. And so I knew that Jack and Jeff knew how to do that. So I was really confident about that part of it.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask you about, too, because we'll talk more specifically about season 3. But going back to when you first started in season 1 in particular, there was a lot of challenges with the show as far as being able to get everyone to commit. Looking back on it now, going into season 3, what was something that you did in season 1 that has carried through to help you play this character?
Something I did to commit.
Or something that happened on season 1 that sort of informed how you approached later seasons?
The one thing that I think that we don't play it a lot, but he has to carry, that Boyd has to carry, is the sadness about his. It is the sadness is not the word. If you shot your wife, if anybody's ever shot their wife, I don't know if you've had this experience before, right? Mine's here. I didn't either. But if you had to take that into consideration, the kind of pain that would cause you in the midst of trying to save your life and the rest of your family and these people's lives, that kind of desperation, that kind of sadness, that kind of hurt, the reason that you keep fighting, that's the thing I think I've carried from the very beginning. And had to alter, do you know what I mean? In the very beginning, Boyd seems a little violent, and when he's smacking Tom, and he's so angry, and he's almost going to shoot him, and then he's got to come back. He's got to keep pivoting, and that's what happens. And so that's because of that's I think what happens when you have that kind of, it's a guess, but when you have that kind of heartbreak.
The thing with From that I think is particular is, although it's not necessarily the first moment, but this first name on the call sheet sort of burden that you have as an actor when you're leading the charge of this huge ensemble is something that I think your entire filmography has prepared you for. And I know, speaking to the rest of the cast and speaking to the filmmakers, you won't admit this, but they've all said, you are very subtle with how you really try to lead with by example on set. And I'd love for you to share how you did that, because on season 3, you guys are all still giggling and getting along. Like, I saw it. They're all still right there.
We're still having a good time.
It's a theater company that you get to peek inside of.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, but you're right. My career has sort of informed all of it. And I've worked with some people whose name, who were leading our show, and some were amazing, and some were, not. And so that kind of information is certainly in there. But the thing I think that I feel like I've brought in each one of every job that I've done is I love the work. And so I come to do the work. I don't come to be the number 1. I don't come to be the number 7. I don't come for any numbers. None of those things matter. I really come to do the work because I really, really I love the work, and so I try not to let anything get in the way of that and the joy that I have in doing that. And yeah, and so this time I'm number one, and people are like looking at me. So it's a little bit to
Oh, they're looking at you. Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of watching like, hey, can I get away with that? And hopefully I'm not trying to get away with anything. So that's a little bit of adjustment, but the rest of it is still the same. And so it doesn't really matter if what character I'm playing. I'm coming to do the work and hopefully and work that I'm proud of. I love the job. Yeah. I really do.
Hey, listen.
So I want to do it the best I can. So I really do love it.
And the proof is in the pudding. First of all, I should have asked this. How many of y'all have seen before tonight's episode? Like, okay. And how many of y'all just came in here blind? Like, I'm coming. I see y'all. I knew that. Got it. Y'all have been spoiled on so much.
What did you think of that episode? I know. I'm curious about
Wait,
that.
hold on. We can't do Q&A yet.
I'm taking her job. Listen, girl.
I mean.
What happened?
Listen, by the way, I would let you run with it. But then over there, that lovely lady Rochelle would sniper me.
Got it.
We have these lovely cards for all that. No, I'm kidding. Maybe afterwards. I'm just kidding. No, we're not. What I did want to talk about, though, is another 4-letter F word on your filmography and sort of go off of from. I'm coming to it. Because I'm going back to the beginning and fame. Because what people may not know, I knew it. Yeah, see, I got there. People may not know. I know people are like, where is she going with this? Listen, people may not know your first credit, as far as I could see, for television work was the series Fame, where you played a dancer. Yeah, you looked.
That might be my first. Yeah,
that's what they said on the internet. But they lie all the time. Yeah, they lie all the time. But I don't think people know this about you, because if you really look back on your performances, there's always a certain balletic quality to a lot of your physical performances. I mean, I can think of, I don't know how many performances where you dance, like literally in it. Right. Talk a little bit about what it was like sort of stepping on that set. And if you could go back to that time.
Fame?
Yeah, like back to that time. What would you, if you get 2 minutes, you and that version of you, what's that dialogue like? start with what it was like stepping onto that set, though.
I'm gonna have to go back a little bit before that. So, and the reason is because like where I grew up in Brooklyn, there wasn't a path to being an actor for me. There wasn't a path that I could see. Like, you know, there was a path, I just couldn't see it. And so I was doing anything I can. I really always wanted to be an actor. And so I studied music, and then I got a scholarship to dance, and I did all these things thinking I was going to be an actor. And then it turns out like I danced really well, and that's what I was. Like, everybody was like, but you're a dancer, right? I was like, no, I can act too. They were like, sure you can. And so, and they were right, actually. I was like, because I trained to be a dancer. And so I stopped dancing after a while, well after Fame, and I was just like, I just focused on the acting. That being said, I would go back to that guy and say, listen, it's all going to work out. You're going to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, you're good. I was in the background dancing. Back then, there was a Screen Extras Guild. And so I thought like, hey, I made it to Hollywood. And then you're like, you have to join the Screen Extras Guild. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I thought it was like, oh, somehow it was a mark, but it was, I didn't really understand the labor practices and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I didn't understand why we needed a Screen Extras Guild. We did. And then eventually they merged. But I would go back and say, hey, it's gonna be fine. And I would have said to me, you're lying. I'm gonna be dancing forever. And so, but I would have told him he was okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. He did all right. Kid did all right.
Fine.
It's funny, and I wanted to start with Fame because I don't know if you're aware. I don't know how online you are, but your performance in Romeo and Juliet is something that the internet will never not be obsessed with.
They gotta
And it's had like 8 lives in the past like 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm just curious for you. Obviously, that was, you know, a great moment and a great performance working with Baz. It hit pop culture. How crazy is that for you? How much that still reverberates back to you, that moment? Like, do you see the costumes? Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, it really, really does. It's still, you know, every once in a while it comes up online and my wife will go, they're talking about it again. I'm like, is Mercutio? She goes, yeah. and my kids dressed up as Mercutio. Things you don't think of as an actor. One day, my daughter will dress exactly like me, just like a. Anyway, yeah, that was just. Yeah, it still stuns me that people. I was a big fan of the Zeffirelli one, and so that people consider us in that same vein kind of blows my mind. Like I was such a fan of it. I'd watched it a million times when I was a kid. Because of the Zeffirelli West Side Story was is still maybe one of my favorite musicals ever, you know, that the whole storyline. And so to get the chance to do that, to play Mercutio, who's actually Riff, who's also like the whole thing just all makes me super excited that I got a chance to do all that.
Not to put you on the spot too, that's not the only time that you've done Shakespeare. You've done Shakespeare on the stage yet, or is that the only time still?
That is the it's interesting. It is. I didn't get to do much on stage, and the reasons I didn't get to do it on stage are the reasons that Mercutio worked in the film.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. All of the way that Mercutio sounds is what Baz was looking for. He wanted him to sound not like he had standard American speech. He wanted him to sound like he was from Brooklyn, and I was like, all right, I'm from Brooklyn, so let's get it. And so I've done other Shakespeare productions. I met my wife. I keep referring to. I'm sorry, dude. She doesn't want any of this. She's like, stop pointing at me.
She's with us. We're all here.
That was the last time. But I did a version of The Tempest with Jack Bender. We did a version of The Tempest that was set in the Old South. He'll tell you, I'll tell you, it was terrible. But we definitely did it. And so I did that, and I did another version of what was that? Right, we did that one. Yeah, so I've done a few,
few more Shakespeare.
Few more, yeah, but like sort of not Shakespeare, but not Shakespeare.
Got you. We have a few more questions, and these from the audience, so I want to make sure I get to them before we have to get out of here. This is from, this is lovely. Miriam Remo, and I think this is for anyone who's actually seen the show will find this interesting. Has there ever been an attempt to remove the tree from the road?
I don't know if you guys notice it, but like you go to the tree and then you drive and drive and drive and drive, and then you're in the town. So no, nobody's. I mean, we've tried to get to the tree or get somewhere, but they just won't let you go anywhere. They're really, and this year they're being terrible. They're just being terrible.
They really are.
If I'm being honest.
It's getting bleak. It's getting bleak in these early episodes of season 3. This is Richard C. In the void or whatever, how did you mentally prepare for the scene with the bear?
Oh, in The Edge.
The Edge. Sorry, did I say the void? Sorry.
Yeah, in The Edge.
Edge. Couldn't read it. I apologize.
I tried to prepare a lot, but it's really intimidating doing anything in front of Anthony Hopkins. So at the end of the day, no matter what happened, I was just frightened.
Was the bear was really there though?
The bear was really there. So there wasn't a lot that I had to do with the bear. What they did, which is really kind of interesting, they built a costume. It was like my costume, and put it on the dummy, and gave the dummy dreadlocks, and they gave the dummy to the bear, and the bear would take play with it all day. So they would never let me get next to the bear for fear that the bear would think, "There's my doll." And so
I'm glad they did that.
Yeah. So easy. I didn't have. Yeah. I did. So they let the bear do a lot of the work, and I did a little of stuff with the animatronics bear.
Seriously though, no, let's not do that. This is from, I think, Henry, but I apologize if I don't have that name right. What are some clues you can give the audience to what this universe is? To me, it seems like an LSD trip, but please give me some insight. Wow, you kind of telling on yourself, sir, but I'm with you.
I mean, this right now kind of seems like an LSD trip, if I'm being honest. But I literally have no idea what this universe is. I 100% don't. I don't ask them. I'm asking the questions along with everybody else. I don't ever want to appear like I kind of know the answer, but I'm not going to tell you. Like, I have no idea what the answer is. I have no idea what the universe is. I'm really excited to find out. I'm super, super excited to find out. And it adds to the playing of it, right? It adds to the, like, where am I? Yeah. It totally just adds, because I literally don't know. And me and the cast, and we're always going like, I mean, I don't know. They made you watch. They made you watch. Where are we? They made you watch. Like, what is that? Like, what kind of, where are we? And so that's, I think I need to stay there in order to keep Boyd really real.
Yeah, it's kind of like the will they, won't they with a couple. It's like once they tell you where you are, it's like we keep that as long as possible.
As long as possible, yeah.
Keep the suspense going.
Yeah. But I got a feeling when they tell you, we still won't know what to do.
Facts.
That's gonna be the thing.
Again, it is a little like Lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Same culprits. I do want to do this though, because we don't necessarily know where it's going, but for this season 3 at least, past the episode that they have seen, there's more episodes that they can catch up on and get caught up on before this last episode premieres. So I'd love for you to maybe give folks a little preview, especially speaking to those folks that haven't watched yet and they're maybe now going to have to start at 1 and then get to 3. Trust me, please do that. Like, just don't go back to season 3. You'll be lost. You will be literally lost. For those folks, what would you tell them is on the journey ahead?
So this is the thing that's really going to be great this season. You're going to get a bunch of different answers to a lot of questions. But like I said, it's going to just leave you with, okay, but now what do we do? And the thing that's really amazing about that is, even though you get the answers, you're actually going to start asking, oh, but what's he going to do, or what's she going to do, now that we know that that's what's happening? So coming down the pipe is there's some setup, but then there are real, like, oh, that's how that happened in season 2. So, oh, but what does that mean? But where does it go? And so there's so many. You should start from the beginning if you haven't. You really should, because then when you see the stuff that comes now, you're really gonna think it's cool, because it is. I was trying to calm myself down. I was about to do something really wild, and I was gonna show you my own reaction, but I'm gonna save that. Yeah, you're gonna really like it. So, like, really good answers are coming. The tension doesn't let up, even in the slower episodes. It's still, the tension is the rope is wound really, really tight, and it keeps going all the way to the end.
And if you don't have MGM Plus, get a free trial.
Yeah.
Binge it.
Yeah.
Get it together, kids.
Yes.
I wanted to ask about a couple more things before we get out of here. And one of the ones that I wanted to talk about is another one of these performances that I feel is kind of attached to you forever. And maybe the thing that a lot of folks saw you in first, and that's Oz.
Oh, okay.
Oz. For folks that don't know, this was you really, with that show, set the precedent for now what we consider peak TV. Because when Oz came out, there were no hour really scripted dramas on premium pay cable.
Not like that.
What was it? I mean, to be sort of like the Sputnik of that endeavor. Like, did y'all know that this was going to be setting it up? Did you kind of feel that later?
We felt it way later. In fact, the very first screening of it. The very first screening. So we were making a television show, but they screened it at a theater, which was really the wrong thing to do. Because when it's a really stark show. And so when we saw it in the theater, we all went, oh, wow, that's it. We're never going to work again. Oh, oh, man. Oh, it just looked really bad. Like, it was just, It was so crazy and so wild.
And that violence was not something that you saw on TV at that time?
Yeah, the violence was horrible. And in the very first episode, this is not a spoiler because it's 20 years old. In the very first episode, they take a character that you think you're going to follow and literally set him on fire. And so you actually know what the stakes are as soon as we start. You know, you're following him, he's on fire? He's on full fire. And so yeah, we had no idea until later. And they would let us do whatever we wanted to do. You know what I mean? That was the thing that was really kind of cool, but also made us like, oh, you're one of those weird guys on Oz. Yeah. No, we loved it. Okay, we loved the show. So it was hard to get a job during that time.
Really? Crazy.
It was tricky. Yeah, it was tricky.
This is my last question for this one and that. But by the way, though, that is bad considering how many great people they had attached to that show. You, Maloney, B.D. Wong, right?
B.D. Wong, J.K. Simmons, Rita Moreno. Rita Moreno!
How? Travesty. Philistines. All of them.
Oh, come on. Jeez.
Of your whole filmography, what is the line that you'll still come back to it? You'll never forget that line from anything that you've played.
It's probably Romeo and Juliet.
All right, what's the line?
I probably do it all the time. A scratch! It's a tough business, and so sometimes, you know, you think you're going to get a job and you don't. You're like, a scratch! You think you hurt me? Nothing! So I've said it so many times. It's like, it's a scratch!
That is the best last question ever. Thank you so much. I want to thank all of you for watching. Thank everyone at SAG-AFTRA. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys for coming out. I really, really appreciate you.